David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, episode 29. Welcome again to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, David Andrew Wiebe and...
Anime Alexander.
And if you were listening to the previous episode wondering why we weren't doing a big welcome back episode, that's because Patrick and I had recorded our interview previously, probably long before Anna and I actually sat down to do the intro and outro segments.
Yes.
And Pat and I actually mentioned the fact that it was episode 28. So I couldn't just go ahead and put something before it. Mm-hmm. And that's why this is the big welcome back episode for the show. And of course, we're going to be catching up with you, Anna, and catching up with what's been happening to me and some of the stuff we've been doing together with concerts and shows and all that.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing.
Yes, it has been.
Yeah.
I guess I want to offer a belated Happy New Year to all of our listeners out there.
Da, 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 da. I had to learn that song recently. I still can't remember the lyrics. I never sung that before.
The big year 2012. I can't believe it's March.
Woohoo, it's the end. Or not.
But that means there's still about 10 months left in the year.
Yeah, it is.
Right on. So
just under, yeah.
And it's starting to get kind of spring-ish outside.
There's sun!
And that's almost a better place to be than in the dark, cold, in the basement recording podcast.
In the bleak midwinter?
Yeah, exactly. Man, it seems like there was just all kinds of stuff that happened that kind of prevented us from getting together and making it happen.
Yeah.
Everything tends to work out in the end, and you learn and you grow because of those experiences, so you're ultimately thankful for them. Mm-hmm. But point A was the fact that the studio broke down.
Oh, yes. Yes. I was like, oh, when can we record? When can we do this? When can we do that? Oh, the poor studio.
That was probably November that it happened. And that was the Mackie Onyx unit, which is the input-output. Basically, for those who aren't very technical, that's where all the cables get plugged in.
And forgive me, did Mackie not recently go out of business?
I believe what happened was it got bought out by a secondary company.
Okay, so you can still get Mackie parts. You didn't have to sub anything in there.
I believe you can still get Mackie products.
Okay.
But they're not owned by the same people anymore.
Which is a little sad, because Mackie's pretty awesome.
They've been known for quality products, and I think the Onyx lasted us a good 3 to 4 years.
Amazing.
Until it broke down, so...
Considering the use.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Maybe not as much use as a professional studio would see. Mm-hmm. Although I guess I do consider myself a professional studio. I should be saying a more busy studio.
Busier studio. Your grammar's excellent.
I like better grammar.
We'll talk later.
And basically, I brought it over to Mother's Music first, which is now Long and McQuaid. So things are kind of changing in town too.
I did not know about that one.
Yes. There's going to be 3 locations in town, Long and McQuaid.
Amazing. Love it.
Yeah. There's going to be one out in Rocky Ridge area here.
Oh, very nice.
So our friend Jonathan should be loving that.
Yeah. J-Ferg,
as we started calling him.
Just so that people who haven't listened much to us before, Jonathan Ferguson is a local musician. Upcoming album is incredible. Please go to his website, check out his music. The guy is amazing.
The guy sort of lives by a Murphy's Law kind of philosophy, and that seems to be exactly what's happening with this album. Is like everything that could go wrong is going wrong.
But he's a brilliant songwriter and
awesome.
a terrific
I love his work
musician.
and I love working with him.
I have to have a copy of that CD. When it comes out, it will be in my hands, and I need him to autograph it for me.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
That thing, but it's so close to being done. I think the mixing is done, the mastering is in progress.
Yeah.
The artwork is in progress.
He's had a bit of a rough go on his artwork is gonna be a whole other story. It's being done from across the planet.
Yeah.
So, China, yeah.
Not because the person that he usually pawns out the artwork, I shouldn't say pawn, but enlists the help of somebody.
Yeah, the gal he hires.
Yeah, not because she lives in China, but because she's stuck in China.
It happens.
Which is a whole nother story that maybe he can come in and tell once his album is done.
We will have to have I have to be there for that interview.
Yeah.
I have to be in on that one. That is gonna be memorable.
And of course, you'll remember that the first time I interviewed him, he was already talking about recording the album, so it was in progress at that point.
It's getting done a little faster than Solid Ground.
Yeah, to be fair.
Be fair.
That was about 2009, so by the time we hit summer, it'll probably be up to 3 years in the making.
It'll be done soon.
Yeah.
It's coming.
No question, it's almost done.
Yeah.
And
it'll be amazing, and then there's more Wiebe music coming down the pipes.
Exactly.
So much more Wiebe music, and it's exciting.
But to hop back on the track, I brought it down to Mother's, and then I talked to some people I know there about electronics, and they recommended someone else who kind of operates out of his own house. Mm-hmm. Went and showed him what was going on, left it at his place. He lost my phone number.
Oh God.
Or had the wrong phone number written down, one or the other.
Oh dear God, okay.
And so I didn't hear from him for a while, so I gave him a call to see what if any progress was made. And sure enough, there was, but that's when he told me, you know, I lost your phone number, and I was hoping that you would contact me.
Jeez.
And so he says there's this one place down in the States, just one, that he could find that has the component that you need.
Cool.
I wasn't actually able to order it for another month or so. But when I finally did put it through on a credit card, the piece arrived at my house, then I brought it back down to his place, and the unit is now working again.
Woo! So we need some kind of celebration music here.
Absolutely. Put something in there. So the studio is fixed, in case you were wondering, in case you had listened to my many updates about it not working and me working on trying to get it fixed. It's back up and working again.
We're recording in it.
Exactly. There are a couple cables that maybe haven't been inserted in the right spot yet. I'm working on that side of things.
We're sitting in the comfiest studio in the city.
Yeah, totally. But in either case, it's up and working, and I was able to finish Andrew Rich's album as well.
Amazing. Another great local artist.
Yes. I've had compliments on the mixing and mastering of that.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Recording as well.
I haven't heard that one. I'll have to call him up and ask him why I didn't get a copy.
I'm looking to get a copy and also looking to get him in to do an interview soon.
Brilliant. That will be a great interview.
Yeah, that should be really fun. So, studio fixed. The other thing that happened somewhere around late December was not able to log into the website.
The website.
So as soon as the studio is back up and running, or it probably intersected there somewhere.
Yeah.
But studio was up and running, and then I couldn't log into the website to make any updates or changes. So that also prevented me for a while from making any progress with the show.
And was that a hack, or was that upgrades to their site? What happened there?
It's not conclusive, but
brilliant.
Basically, based on the errors that we were doing in debug mode, which is for the purpose of figuring out what errors are, of course, went to that line of code and basically pointed to any old comments on the website, like any comments that may have been archived from before, and they get archived in what's called MySQL tables, which are basically your database. So all of the information you post, like blog posts, comments, all that stuff gets stored in tables in your database. And so it was having trouble with the created on date, which basically just comes in the format of year, month, day, and time.
Okay.
It was telling me there was an error with something in there.
Okay.
Looked through, couldn't find anything unusual. There was nothing that was missing for a created on date in any of the old comments. But what I started doing was I started clearing out a lot of the junk because, man, over time you seem to accumulate a lot of junk on your blogs, and it's stupid. Like, I really don't like it, and I've been looking for a solution. But about 2 or 3 years ago, I just I made it so people had to sign in to comment. That was the best decision I made, so then I wasn't sifting through like 80, 90 comments every day.
Try our weight loss product.
Which
It'll make you slim in 6 days.
And so you don't want to sit there approving 800 comments and then find 2 that are relevant. It's just too stupid. So I wasn't doing that anymore.
Try our cellulite reducing tank top.
Yeah.
It exists!
Oh my god.
Oh, it freaks me out. Yeah.
So, cleared out all the junk. All there was left was maybe about 6 relevant comments.
Good grief.
Still couldn't log into the site. So it sat like that for a while. And then finally, after deleting all the comments, because I knew that's where the error was, I was able to log in again.
Woo! We have liftoff!
And for the moment, even though I hate doing this, I've had to disable comments on the website because I really don't want that issue.
If you want to talk to us, email us.
Yeah, you can still email us at comments@daw-music.com. We want to hear from you.
We do want to hear from you, absolutely.
Yes. But we can't, for the moment, until we figure out a better system, we can't allow commenting on the website.
And we'll even respond to your comments in the podcast.
Absolutely. Long story short, the website's fixed. I can update again, and we can get some new episodes up and rolling.
Party!
Which is good, considering I have a bunch of interviews already in the can.
Exactly. It'll be great.
So that should be... So that's going to be awesome. And there's some new blog posts and stuff coming as well. If you have any questions or comments regarding this podcast, send an email to comments@daw-music.com. And when I typed this up, this was news. It's not really anymore, but Van Halen's new album came out on February 7th.
Yeah!
It's great to see the veterans rocking out again, and they're back with David Lee Roth.
Veteran and son?
Yeah. Well, Alex and Eddie are still part of it, and Dave... I guess this would be the first official Dave album since 1984?
Something like that, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we should probably define that it's with Dave. It's not Dave and the band.
Yeah.
That should probably be pointed out because based on what I read and heard is basically the band was recording probably in Eddie's studio. I don't know about that. And then they sent the tracks over to Dave to do the vocals.
Awesome.
So they tolerate him enough to probably do rehearsals, videos, and shows, but not enough to be around him for recording.
Oh, politics.
Which, personality differences and so on and so forth. We shall not judge.
I have to say, though, it's kind of neat to see Eddie playing with Wolfgang.
Totally.
Eddie and Wolfie up on stage together. How cool is that?
I think it's awesome, father, son, and
yeah.
Wolfie's obviously starting to grow up too, and
really enjoying it.
Yeah, he's a good enough player. There's no question there. When I went to see them in concert, it didn't feel like the higher vocals were missing, but I'm listening to the new Van Halen album, kind of missing Michael Anthony's vocals a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay, because it's kind of a new sound for them, and it's something a little different. And probably the first solid, good release from Van Halen since Balance with Sammy Hagar.
Cool.
Because they did Van Halen 3 with Gary Sharon. And it wasn't the fact that Gary Sharon's a bad singer. A lot of people think that. A lot of people, oh yeah, well, Gary Sharon, terrible, awful singer. No, he's a fantastic showman, and when he's called upon, he can also sing pretty well.
Yeah.
The issue there was lack of practice.
Practice. Right back to our last podcast.
No kidding. Apparently, the production was pretty rushed, and so they were under a lot of pressure to put it out fast. And if they had actually taken some time to figure out song structure and work out the melodies and all that, it probably would have been a better album than it was.
I really do think there's too many albums nowadays being rushed out, and you can really hear it. It's not worth it, I don't think. I know a lot of people wish their artists would produce more albums or faster. And then sometimes those are the same people who are like, wow, the quality's really gone down, or sound isn't quite right, or whatever. You know, don't expect the artist to rush it. And I really wish more artists would slow it down and do it right. Take the time to just, this is what we want. We want a good album. Give it to us. I'll wait.
Right.
You know, I'm happy to wait for Jonathan Ferguson's. I know it's not the same as Van Halen, but I know it's going to be great when it comes out because they're taking the time to get it right. You know?
I think Van Halen 2 was recorded in 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, dear God.
But I think that was a different time because Van Halen, A, had a kind of a template set out and worked out from their recording their first album, and B, they had a lot of material that they'd already practiced to death.
Yeah, if you've practiced it to death, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, under that circumstance, awesome. But yeah, I can't really see it being viable because, you know, if you're a pop artist, that's maybe one thing, but if you're working on an album that has a little more depth to it and you're talking about 6 months, a little iffy. Hard to say, because then, you know, you got mixing, mastering, replication right there, you're talking about a month. So 5 months of recording and rehearsals. Some people can do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
I'd rather an artist take the time to get it right.
Yeah.
It's just my preference.
Get good performances. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't try to tweak or polish a turd, as they say.
You can shellac that and sell it as jewelry, though.
I don't know about that.
They sell elephant dung jewelry.
That's always been our philosophy in the studio, is if you get a good performance and there were some mistakes in it, you can tweak it. But if you have a bad performance and then you try to tweak it, that's not going to happen.
Do it again.
Just do it again. Yeah. Totally. So yeah, that's exciting, and you know, I don't own the album yet, but I do intend to go out and buy it, or I might just iTunes it. I'm not sure yet.
I've heard bits and pieces.
Exactly, I've heard bits and pieces on YouTube. I've heard "Tattoo," obviously the hit song.
Yeah. Or
supposed to be the big single off of it. And then another album that's almost out and on its way, and long awaited for me, although the rest of the world may not even know, is Pete Lesperance from Hermscarum.
Okay.
The guitarist.
Very nice, very nice.
They obviously, Hermscarum has not released anything since 2008.
Wow.
Individually, as solo artists, I think Creighton, the drummer, did do a solo album. But this will be Pete's first solo album since he's been working with Hermscarum, because he did do one solo album while he was still working with Hermscarum. So long awaited, but it's probably going to be out this month, but he's not even sure himself. Obviously, he's taken our advice and has worked on it.
He took our advice retroactively.
Yeah.
and is taking years to craft and hone and create the ultimate album.
Yeah.
Actually, if we're going to talk about albums just out, I'm really excited personally for Epica's Requiem for the Indifferent. It just came out, I believe, yesterday, and I'm trying to remember the title of their last album. It came out, it was brilliant. It's so intelligent, so well written. I know it's not your genre. I happen to love my symphonic metal. Can't wait to hear this album. Haven't got a purchase on it yet. I've seen a couple videos from what's come off it. It looks like they've worked quite hard on it. Locked themselves away and just worked the heck out of it until they've got it recorded. So I'm very excited to get the next one. If the writing's anywhere near as good as the last one, I need a copy.
Yeah.
This has to be purchased.
What I'm finding kind of funny and it's not totally related to Epica, but in the current music scene and what's happening on YouTube is there is sort of almost this cycle of repetition that seems to be happening now, because Yo-Yo Ma, long time ago, probably a dozen years ago, if not longer, started doing kind of some popular songs on the cello, which was kind of new at the time.
Which is being done by Apocalyptica.
Exactly. Not only that,
but that's more metal.
I was up in Edmonton, and then some friends of friends was showing me some videos, and they're like, "Here's this amazing cello duo that does pop songs." It's nothing new, not to me anyway.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
There's a couple really good duos that are out right now doing that. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they are fantastic, but they were doing like Purple Haze and Yo-Yo Ma kind of did that already.
I like what's going on with symphonic metal because they're kind of, I wouldn't say it's an entirely new genre, but there's a lot of rock mixed with classical and everything else. They're moving their own way. They're not recycling pop and playing it on classical instruments and going, woo, look, we can play MJ on a violin, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's neat hearing Billie Jean on a violin, but it's kind of, what's the word? Kind of cute, and I don't know, there's a word there for that, but you know what I mean. It's kind of a great little thing to see, but they're kind of bringing it out to a new, East Village Opera Company. It was neat because they modernized opera. They're playing opera with some tremendous rock musicians and some tremendous, they had Juilliard musicians in their orchestra, their mini orchestra there. And then doing it in the original language and part of it in English, trying to bring it to a new generation, which is great, but not really doing anything new. Whereas some of these new symphonic metal groups, they're writing new music. It's not recycled.
Right.
Whereas I prefer that to some of the recycled stuff. Don't get me wrong, the recycled drug is a great gateway, or the recycled stuff's a great gateway drug.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah. Somebody does a cover, their own interpretation of familiar songs. Mm-hmm. That's one way to stimulate some growth in your fan base, for sure. Yeah.
It's a good gateway drug. But once you're getting into, like, some of these bands that are writing the new stuff, it's really, I love it. I love the intensity of it. I think it's one future for classical music, for classical musicians.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to sit around listening to Beethoven's Ninth anymore. Not everybody wants to listen. I love Requiem, Mozart's Requiem. Love Requiem. Beautiful music. Not a lot of our generation wants to sit around and listen to it. It is a viable career now for classical musicians. We've got video game music. We've got symphonic metal where you're combining. Why can't a cello player and a guitar player get on stage together and create something amazing? Yep. It's and something new. They don't have to recycle or replay something that's been done. They don't have to play rock songs that have been played before. They don't have to play classical music that's been done before. They can create something new, come together, sound great together. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it, and the combination does make sense to me. The metal and symphony, because they've been saying that since from the 70s that,
rock and symphony goes together.
Exactly.
So many different things go together. Why not? Why can't the highbrow symphonic people get together with the you can call it lowbrow. It's not metalheads. There's some really neat stuff that's been going on in metal for a lot of years. There's the thrasher stuff that I could do without, but there's some really intricate, neat stuff that there are metal musicians doing. Why can't they all get together? Because they're all very technical in their own right. Get them together. See what happens. I love mashing different genres together and seeing the new genre that comes out.
Right. And Dragon Force. I enjoy it, but I think it's overkill to a point, I think. And that's sometimes the issue that I have with metal. It's just too much. And
I like the dynamics of the symphonic versus...
Dynamic is great.
Yeah, versus some of the traditional metal. I don't know. Traditional metal, there's no such thing.
No.
But compared to thrasher metal, I like symphonic because, 1 second it's quiet and you're waiting to see what happens next. It's going to get loud. It's metal. But there's that dynamic shift. And that's what I love about classical music. And there's a lot of genres of music that don't have the dynamics. And dynamics gets me every time. You have a really dynamic sound or dynamic musicians. I'm all over that. That's what I'm liking about Mariana's Trench right now, really.
Totally, yeah. The dynamics of the whole thing. That's the important part, no matter what genre you're looking at.
Give me dynamics, and I will be your fan for life.
And I understand that sometimes in a 3.5-minute pop song, you don't have a lot of time or room for dynamics, and that I get. But when you're talking about writing a concept album or something with a little more depth, 5-minute songs, 7-minute songs, think of Layla, think of Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, yeah.
That build and build and build. Right.
Or build and then all of a sudden drop back down to the basement and make you sit on the edge of your seat to go, what's coming, what's coming, what's coming?
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the cool thing that was happening then that doesn't happen as much. It still happens, but not as much because we're trying to cater to a radio format.
We're catering to radio. We're catering to iPod. It's something I'm really missing from some of the music from the 70s and the 80s and just some really great sounds that... Everybody's listening to their music on earbuds now.
Yeah.
There's so much being lost.
Yeah.
And their engineers are starting to engineer to it.
That's why there still seems to be a market, and I think a growing market for vinyl. Mm-hmm. Because we can get some of the dynamics back. But what was kind of hilarious...
Give me stereo!
When I was on IHR, and this shouldn't be news to anybody, I was on Inside Home Recording a while ago.
Yes, that was amazing, yeah.
It was very cool to be chatting with Dave Chick, and also interviewed him. So he's
Dave and Dave interviews.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's coming too. But what was I going to say? Yeah, we were discussing the new Chili Peppers album at the time, and the fact that the vinyl sounded better than the CD, but it wasn't because vinyl is better quality in general, even though that plays a small part. It was the fact that they'd done a different mastering job for the CD than the vinyl.
Yeah.
That is strange to me. And so they still had a very
more
loud,
and more common,
very loud, very compressed, very limited CD version. And the very dynamic and better sounding and better quality vinyl version.
Drives me nuts.
What are you going to go for?
Drives me nuts.
And not that any of this matters by the time you, rip it to your iTunes, but...
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to cover some consumer updates.
Ooh.
I have one issue in particular that I would like to bring up, and I've brought it up before, and not that I want to beat a dead horse, but I was driving down 9th Ave, I guess it was probably about a month ago now, maybe a little longer, and I stop at the light, and I look next to me, and it's a Toyota.
Uh-oh.
And it says in big letters, service loaner.
Uh-oh.
Now, granted, I don't think it was Charles Glenn Toyota, which is where I went to get my car fixed. Mm-hmm. But the very fact that somebody else was getting a preferential treatment, in fact, they didn't even mention to me that they had a service loaner. In fact, they say, we don't even do that.
Must have been the other one. You know that other Toyota? That one day your tire was flat and I was with you? It was like... I don't know what to call that. Heaven on earth?
By comparison, yes.
Was that a car dealership we walked into or some kind of lounge? Like they had place to sit and little TVs to watch and an aquarium.
Fish tank, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And people who... I'll stay 5 minutes after I get off work to help you with that. What? It was amazing. It was the promised land.
Absolutely. It was amazing. And they helped us out and the people were friendly. And trust me, we had walked in with our grubs that day. I'm pretty sure because we had just come from cleaning the church. Yeah.
Yeah, I was helping you clean the church that day.
So we had come in. We
probably smelled bad.
Probably didn't smell that great. Probably didn't look that great. And they still were there and helping us out.
Red carpet rolled out.
And should I... And I forgot, and I should mention that the service department was closing when we arrived, and the guy was still like, "Oh, yeah, just hang on.
I'll stay 5-10 minutes after work. Just let me close down my little booth here, and I'll be outside to help you with that."
Yes.
Yeah, didn't have the part we wanted to use your what's it called, lug wrench.
Yeah, the lug nuts.
Am I using the correct word? The lock. They didn't have one that you could just buy and take home, but he said, "Why don't you use ours?" Okay.
Right.
Fantastic. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello? You guys are can I hug you? Have you had a hug today? Can I give you a hug? Yeah. You deserve a hug.
Exactly.
It was brilliant.
That was Stampede Toyota in the Northeast. And yes, it was heaven on earth compared to some of the rigmarole I went through with Charles Glenn. So next time, don't tell me that you don't have a service loaner, or at least you're not willing to do something. If you're going to keep my vehicle, not for 2 weeks, not for 4 weeks, but 6 weeks.
Good grief. Good grief.
And they say, the part's coming from Japan, so we can't do anything about it. Great. You should have said that at the outset and not set up the expectation of it being done in 2 weeks. Yep. No business should do that. And we make that error from time to time. No. I understand. We're human. But don't set up that expectation with your customer, because they're going to think, if it's not done in 2 weeks, then you're not treating me as a customer.
I'm having printers lately who are doing that.
Right.
If I'm getting material printed for an event, get it right. Get it on time, or you will not get my business again.
Oh, yeah.
Industry images, oh dear Lord. I ordered a week in advance just to make sure, and I'm pretty big on that because you never know what'll happen. The problems, oh my gosh, back and forth repeatedly. Industry images used to be amazing. Not so much anymore. I did finally, at the end, when it came literally down to the wire, the manager drove over my job after doing it himself, but then promised to fix some of the work. He's like, "Well, what do you mean the quality control wasn't there?" And I showed him some of the prints, and he looks at them and goes, "This is us screwing up. Which one do you want me to redo and frame for you guys?" Guess what was never redone or framed? I tried calling back a few times. Screw it. You guys are never getting my business again. I've had a couple other printers like that where you're like, well, they weren't charged. Riley's is notorious for quality control. I'm now a huge fan of stop and go reproduction. I'm paying a little bit more, but that guy works his ass off to make sure it's done. And if he farms out his work to another company, it's been farmed out. Their logo's on the package.
Right.
But the package has also been opened, and Dan Burse, I think his name is, goes through every single page to make sure it's up to his quality to send out to a customer. Okay, I'm paying more to get my posters done, but they're being done by Dan Burse at Stop and Go Reproduction, because that guy works his ass off for your business.
Right. So he gets it done no matter what, even if it's not at his own print shop.
At his own print shop. Their printer breaks down, he'll send it out, but you can better believe that it's going to have been opened by him, and every single page was checked, because it's the way he goes.
Don't know why people have been trained to do that. Whoever's training these people, do a better job. Actually, pay attention to what their dialogue is. Good Lord, give them something to work with, because the kids don't know. And they need to learn that you can't just say, "Oh yeah, it'll be done by September 10th." And, you need it for September 11th, and it's not done until September 12th. That's an issue. That's a huge issue.
If I'm getting
you don't
programs,
need it anymore.
Yeah, if I'm getting programs done for my charity fundraiser and you gave me 10% off, okay, you gave me 10% off. That's fine. I could have gone to Staples, done it myself, got it done right. Might not have been as fancy of paper. If it's not done till the day after, my charity fundraiser's over.
Yeah.
And I've had people try to do that to me, and they're like, "Well, I'm giving you a discount." Great. Give me my money back, I'm going to Staples. And I've said that to someone's face.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's got to get done now. I usually am pretty reasonable, but if I given you 2 weeks lead time on something that should take, I've worked in a print shop, on something that should take 3 days, sure, an election just happened, get my work done.
Yeah.
I realize that the politicians are paying you more money. I still paid you money out of my pocket.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of that stuff currently. I'm a student.
It's hard-earned money.
Yeah. I'm a student. It's not easy for me. you better do it right, and you better do it on time. If you've given me a discount, you shouldn't have given me a discount if you put it down in your priority chain.
Right.
I don't really want to deal with that kind of company.
And on the same note, I want to say and I said this straight to their face the other day, I'm not sure how they took it, but telephone marketers, especially those who are calling about like duct cleaning or calling about papers. The first thing they do is try to get a bunch of yeses. And I understand why they do this. This is a principle taught in how to win friends and influence people. Problem is, there's no relationship established first. So getting a bunch of yeses up front actually isn't that useful.
I'm actually quite frustrated with telemarketers at work. Mm-hmm. And it's a horrible trick, and it's my new one. I'll have telemarketers who will call me every single day, and they'll want to speak with the boss, who's the president. Not hard to find the president of a company's name out. I don't give it out on the phone anymore because it's a telemarketer trick. They'll call asking for him, and I'll say, what's it about? Well, that's between me and him. Or they'll ask for who's in charge of something. No. And they're talking to the person who's in charge of it sometimes, because sometimes I am in charge of it.
Right.
And I'll need to speak with him. I need to give a reason. And the same person will call 3 days in a row. And they'll be like, well, I won't leave a message. Okay, cool. So then I get wise to who you are. It's called call display. I can tell you're calling. I can tell you're calling from a 1-800 number.
Yeah.
Granted, there are legitimate businesses that call from 1-800 numbers.
Absolutely.
But if you're calling from a 1-800 number, you won't leave a message. You're going to call me 3 times in 3 days. I'm going to put you on hold for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that, have a nice life. Pretty much after you've put someone on hold twice like that, they'll never call back again.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing to say. I get very sick of some of the tricks and to get someone on the phone who does not want to be on the phone, does not have the time, his time is worth so much more than mine to the company. They're paying him a lot more than they're paying me. If you can't take the 3 seconds to talk to me about it, often he's not the one dealing with it. Sometimes it is people in our industry who are calling going, yeah, I can only speak with the president. President doesn't deal with what you want. If you want to sell us your material to build what we're building with what you've got, it's not going to happen. He's not going to care. He's going to hang up on you.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the time to talk to you, and I've tried to tell you that you have to go talk to the guy who's in charge of that project. People don't listen.
I'm going to propose something, and I could be wrong on this. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me like we're entering the age of honesty. And that was just good old-fashioned conservative honesty is what got people's business in the first place.
Yes.
We're no longer in the age of sales tactics, tips and tricks. That's not working anymore. And you call me up and you tell me, is this your address, sir? Is this your email address, sir? Would you like to give us your cell phone number, sir? And then tell me
which is often a scam.
And then tell me what you're calling about. No, you tell me what you're calling about up front, and then we can decide whether or not you're wasting my time. Because I'll be happy to bill out $60 an hour to you at a moment's notice, because you're talking about this is business hours. You're calling me at
during business hours.
And
you know what? You just brought up a scam that people should know about. There are people calling and going, we're just confirming your business name and phone number for our directory. Our directory could be a company's directory, could be, and I do call businesses and I will say I'm updating my contacts, but I generally go, hey, it's me from a company that you deal with. We're legit. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or my boss and, whatever. There is a scam that does it where they want to confirm your address, phone number, and fax. And then you will get a bill sent to you it's like Yellow Pages, but not.
Yeah. And
a copy of this bogus phone book. And the scam is they bill you for advertising in their phone book. And they call the receptionist and go, hey, can you confirm this, this, and this? So you do also bring up, and only receptionists who've either been burned or somebody from their company has burned know about it. We're also pretty good about letting each other know. I'm not really a receptionist, but I make sure mine knows about it. It's a scam. It's legit. When I'm covering her lunch, I've had people call and try to do it to me.
Right.
The other one is, Hi, I'd like to fix something on your Microsoft computer. That one's going around right now too. And they are calling businesses. Their English is terrible and they're going to try to get you to log into something. The one time I answered, I said, no, this is an Apple household. He didn't even say another word. He's, oh, click.
And obviously there's people that will sit there and talk and get led through a bunch of questions which they're going to answer yes to, and then feel like you have to or want to answer yes to the next question, which is going to be some kind of subscription.
Oi.
Yada, yada, yada. You know what? When I do business and call up my friends and ask for their business, I earn their business, by the way. I don't just ask for it.
Hi, I'm calling to ask for your business.
Yeah.
Generally, you don't quite say it quite like that.
No,
but
I'm like,
more or less, you make sure people know.
Are you interested in anything this month? Is there any of your needs, your daily needs, household needs that I can provide you with? No? Okay. How's your family doing?
Yeah, that's kind of the way to, yeah.
I'm not trying to linger on that, and I'm not trying to make our relationship awkward. You can support me, you cannot support me, but it doesn't make a difference because I'm going to continue doing my business.
Yeah.
And you're going to continue doing your thing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Boy.
I just wanted to bring up those telemarketers because I get those calls often enough, and you know it could even be a local 403 number, and I'm going, okay, maybe it's somebody I know who wants to talk about lessons, yada yada yada. No, just some random person asking for duct cleaning business. Say that up front. Say that up front.
If I'm sitting there and saying I'm not interested, and you're not going okay, thank you, and hanging up, I will hang up on you.
Yes, totally.
I'm sorry.
Or some other 10, 15-minute line of questioning that sets you up for some kind of,
And do
product.
Be careful, people, with surveys. If someone's calling to do a survey,
no.
make sure they're from IOPSIS Read or whatever, and it's, say, a political survey, that's valid. If somebody's calling you to find out about your household cleaning, they're going to call you back after you've done the survey, and someone's going to try to sell you something. It's another common way to hook people in.
I've had it recently too, where they'll call you up and ask you to track your day's travel stuff, travel log and all that. That's great. I think that's an interesting thing to do and get kind of survey people, yada yada yada. But I didn't have time. I missed the day. I couldn't do it. And they call me up and they go, so we'd like to ask you about the details. Well, I didn't do it. Why not? Didn't have time. Couldn't get around to it. And they wanted to set me up for another day and then never call me back, which is fine with me. But
yeah, and you in Canada, you have a right to say, are you paying me for it?
Oh, totally. And then that's the other thing is there a decent compensation or reward for these things? Because I don't want to just sit there and then, oh, you have the chance to win a $5 gift card or something stupid. Or you're one in 1 million chance of winning a $10,000 prize.
No, that's not compensation. I did have one where they contacted me, and it was a consumer one. And I said, okay. And they said, would you like to participate in a beverage survey? And I said, sure. And they sent me, what are those olds with the stylus?
Oh, like not
the old school PDAs.
Phones, PDAs, right.
Sent me one of the old PDAs to record it. Legitimately sent it to me. I sent it back to them by mail. They sent me the envelope to send it back to them. And I got a check for $250 about a week later. That's a pretty valid survey. But do be careful, because if they're actually sending you a check, they're probably not going to call you back to sell you something. That's a genuine consumer research company right there that knows what they're doing and is doing it properly. If it's a chance to win a gift card or whatever, you're likely to get another phone call with the vacuum they're going to sell you.
Right. And last year, I did look at an internet business opportunity that involved surveys. And I spent a lot of time doing it, but I guess apparently there was a magical time when you could do it and make an extra $1,500 on the side for 3 hours and a half a night or whatever. Not anymore. Most of them have now gone from cash to some kind of
stupid points.
Yeah, reward point system. Not worth doing. So in case anybody's looking into that going, I need to make an extra $1,500, not a viable option. I know other options. Please email me.
Work at Tim Hortons, you're more likely to make the money.
Yeah.
You're likely to make more money for your time working at Tim Hortons than you are surveys.
Well, and by the way, if you don't have a day job, that might be a good place to start. But if you have a day job and you're looking to get a second job, I don't think that's the best option. So
no, it's not. No. But there's always...
let me know.
What I'm saying is there's always a better choice.
Exactly. I think that's more or less what I want to cover for consumer updates. You?
Mm-hmm. I keep thinking of things for the consumer update, but we haven't been podcasting for a while.
Yeah.
I know in general, customer service has gone down, and it makes me sad. I'd love to see...
It's pretty lame.
Yeah, I'd love to see better customer service out there. Take the time. People talk about it if it's bad. People don't necessarily talk about it if it's good. That's why I do try to periodically mention,
good ones.
This one sucked, but hey, bring your business to this guy.
Yeah.
Musicians, go see Stop and Go reproductions. They're amazing posters.
Nice.
You're going to pay more. I'm not going to lie. You'll get them on time and they'll be done right.
Right. Visit us online at www.daw-music.com/daw-podcast. And don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends about this podcast. Well, let's catch up with you now. What's new? What's exciting?
I'm getting close to becoming a holistic nutritionist.
Right.
I'm on the tail end of that. Busy as stink with it. Quite enjoying it. Love the research. Love learning about the human body. I have cadaver labs coming up. Here's an interesting tip for anyone. If you're ever working on a cadaver and you start to get hungry, that's normal. Formaldehyde speeds up your metabolism. So if you've got someone's intestines in your hands, don't feel like you're some kind of cannibal. It's normal.
That's the movies where they have sandwiches on dead people and they...
Yeah. There's a little bit of truth to that. It's a little slightly disturbing to find out about that. Really exciting project I'm working on is Odyssey 2453. I've been cast in the show as Chief Security Officer Gutka Sharu. This is exciting. I get to use my martial arts experience. I get to suit up in some body armor and stuff and kick some ass. My character does have an exoskeleton, so she might not necessarily have body armor, so we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Really neat. She's a cyborg.
Yeah.
Really well-written series, though. Oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
The entire first season is fully written out, and he's got 10 years worth of episodes for this series, pre-conceptualized, written down. He's got 200 years worth of history going out to here from about current times to 2453 and beyond. 2453 is just the first year of the series.
Right.
Really well written. Sean Pfizer is the writer. Look it up. It's on Facebook. Odyssey 2453. Look it up. Really brilliant series being written and produced here in Calgary. Look for us at the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo, April 27th to 29th. We'll have a booth.
Nice.
You can buy calendars. There may be buttons, may or may not be t-shirts. Come on down. Come see what's going on. Really exciting. Really a lot of work. A lot of neat people in the room that are helping to make this happen.
Looks like Sean, it's a labor of love for him, and he actually
17 years in the making.
He wants to do it right, because you can tell that because he wants to keep the continuity of the whole thing too.
Yeah.
Which Star Trek's been known to break it from time to time. So
yeah.
and make up an excuse for it later.
We're going on an adventure. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, it looks like a very exciting project.
You can also, I believe it's Kickstarter. I'm really terrible.
I think that was the plan.
Kickstarter, we do have a
or
thing.
Indiegogo, maybe.
I don't think we're on Indiegogo. I'm pretty sure it's Kickstarter. I'm just actually looking it up as fast as I can here right now.
Facebook.
Gotta love it. I'm on the Odyssey site right now, but we've got a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Please donate to it. Goal right now to get production going is 20,000, and that's nothing compared to what goes into making a series. Quite a bit of money.
Oh yeah.
And we'd really love to pay everybody eventually. Hoping to get on Space, maybe a couple other networks.
Yeah.
But really trying to do it right. It's going to start as a web series. Is that the correct term? Web series?
Webisodes, web series.
Webisodes.
Yeah, web series is the correct term, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, look for it coming up soon. Working our little butts off. We have a Twitter feed. Feel free to donate. It's really cool what's going on with it. It's Indiegogo, you're correct.
Okay, Indiegogo, because I think you can still keep your change if you don't meet your goals, but with Kickstarter... I
thought it was reversed.
You're right.
So you're correct, it's Indiegogo.
Okay.
Do look us up on Indiegogo. Some really amazing things coming down the pipes with it. It's going to be a terrific series, I think.
And I guess as a side note, I was thinking of doing something like that for Back on Solid Ground, but it takes a fair bit of dedication getting all that information and everything together to make that happen. But, definitely it might be a possibility down the line.
Yeah, look for us on Kickstarter and Indiegogo coming soon to a computer near you.
Exactly.
What else has been going on with me? Adventures in booking with the band, hey?
Yeah.
It's been...
You've done a good job, by the way, and I just want you to know that.
Thanks. It doesn't feel like that some days. There's some things that I think musicians need to be looking out for. And in general, I think the arts is being devalued in our current time. People expect photography for free, makeup artists for free, people who can film for free. And yeah, I get it. Other artists don't have the money to pay artists. But I mean, part of it is the people, ultimately the consumer on the end, thinks everything we do is for free.
Yeah.
And it results in this general attitude of it should be free. So bars seem to have the attitude that bands should be free, or that bands should be paying you to perform. I'm going to start naming names. I'm sure this is going to piss a few people off with me, but fine. Ironwood, musician we both know, recently had to pay $150 to perform at Ironwood. Ironwood is a well-known music venue in the city and should have enough of a clientele to be able to pay a musician coming in.
It draws a crowd, and they have expensive food that people buy.
Ridiculously expensive food. It's very good food, by the way. It's terrific food.
And it's a nice venue.
The sound there is great. It's a nice venue. They gave her a Monday night on a long weekend.
Who comes on a Monday night, really?
Who comes on a Monday on a long weekend?
Not in Calgary, anyway.
They gave her Monday night, told her, you pay us $150, and then you can keep the door. Luckily, she broke even.
Is it worth
I think
it?
she made a little bit more. Is it really worth it to play Ironwood? I'll leave that up to the musicians to decide.
If you really need the exposure and you're just getting started, but she's been making strides. Like, she's booking shows everywhere and booking interviews and radio and all this kind of stuff. I don't think she's at the caliber or the level where should be playing for free. No,
and that's the other thing. Most of the venues, almost all of the venues in Calgary, I'm finding, expect you to play for door.
Yeah.
I can't say that word on the podcast. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. Because we're musicians. We're trying to play every other night. Really, realistically, we'd love to play every other night. I don't know about you. I love performing.
Sure.
I love being in front of a crowd. We can't expect our friends or the people we influence on the podcast or whatever to come out to every single show.
No.
Every week or second day or whatever. That's the venue's job. It's a much more viable business model. And there's a terrific article on CD Baby right now about it. Yep. That's their job to make sure they have customers coming in and that they're booking bands that suit them. You might not see us playing at Vern's because Vern's is a metal joint, but Vern's is known as a metal joint. People want to go hear a metal show, they go to Vern's.
Right.
Vern's has done a pretty good job of that. It used to be in Calgary that you knew that certain rooms were certain kind of music. You wanted to go hear lounge music, you went to such and such a place. You wanted a metal show, you went to Vern's. You wanted a rock show, you went to whatever venue. The King Eddie was a blues joint. Now, you never know what's going to be playing, and they expect the band to bring it. The other thing that's happening, or has happened, is the bar will frequently go, oh, these people don't play. And it's not just the one we played at recently that did that.
Right.
Bars will sit and go, this group of people doesn't have to pay. This is our regulars. So you as a musician now just charge your friends to come play their venue. And I'm going to name another one right now. They haven't called back to say they were happy to have us or anything, whatever. Blind Beggar. Gave us tickets. You sell 150 tickets for a room that holds 120.
And they don't
That's
see an
where it
issue with
starts.
that.
That's where it starts. We sold out our tickets. That each band gets 50 tickets. We sold out our 50.
Our share, yeah.
Our share was sold out. And we showed up an hour prior to show. By the way, Blind Beggar, notorious. How many times have I gone as a patron to Blind Beggar to support a musician? I've had to chase down door personnel to pay. They're letting people walk in for free.
Yep.
So I brought my own door person, whatever, which
That's
was
what we
cool
said we
with
would
the
do.
first manager, was not cool with the second manager. Management's
They were
constantly
new.
rotating there. Nope, this was the agreement. We're bringing our door guy. You don't have a choice. And hour before the show, these 30 people or so, but I was told about 30, get in free. Because they booked a birthday party.
Because they figured we probably couldn't draw a crowd.
I had a birthday party at Blind Beggar. Everybody who attended my birthday party paid $10.
Yes, they did.
I was not shown preferential treatment. We had people who brought tickets, who showed up to the show, couldn't see anywhere to sit, and left, who paid for tickets,
Right.
who we had to refund out of our own pocket. So not only did we lose out 30 people's $300 in tickets on $300, but we also had to eat the customers who came back to us and said, I couldn't get in. Why? Why are businesses doing this? Why are they expecting good music for nothing? No, not having any of this anymore. I'm done with it.
And by the way, it's not if you're a bar owner or barkeep booking person in charge of booking, you have to realize it's not good business for you.
Exactly.
And the reason is because you're always depending on the band to bring a crowd, which means you don't have established clientele. That's an issue for your business.
Which is why I'm trying to say, establish your room. If you're a lounge, bring in all the best lounge acts every day. And people are going to be, have you been to this place? They've got great music. Come on down.
And then people have a reason to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike some venues. And I'm not saying Blind Beggar. I'm sure they have their own clientele. They're still expecting quite a bit of a band. We're there to entertain and keep the people that were already there. And we're likewise bring out our fans and our fans' friends. Absolutely, we want to do that too. We can't do that every show.
And that was the other thing that I didn't like about Blind Beggar is the people who were already there didn't have to pay.
Yeah. Also an issue, but that's why we should be getting paid a base rate. And even if it's just a thank you, if it's $100, right, base rate plus door per band, we'd be making an okay wage for the night. And granted, we did okay that night, but still, for the amount of work that went in, hard to justify. Hard to justify,
yeah. If you put in the number of hours that we did spend working on that show, we didn't make what we were worth that night. I don't know if we made minimum wage.
Yeah, if you were to encapsulate everything that goes into a show.
There's a lot of work that went into just producing that night, not including a regular rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. Not even including the rehearsals.
Yeah. We didn't make minimum wage when you think about it, and that was considered a good night. Is it worth it? Starting to question that. And this is why people are always moaning about how the great musicians are leaving Calgary. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. And part of that, too, I think people need to really understand, like, we're in Calgary, and I'm not saying that this is a unique symptom of Calgary. I'm aware that it's happening in other parts of the world.
LA?
Yes.
Yep.
I believe Portland as well.
Yeah.
To a degree. But there are still places, many, where they will pay you $150 a night per person.
Yeah, there are
And
places,
so-
there are little cafes. Forgive me.
And what I'm
Okay,
saying-
let's talk about this here. There are small cafes in town who are paying us $120 for a couple hours of music for 2 musicians, which isn't a killing for a musician. But when small cafes are paying more, or the one
Yeah.
cafe that we play periodically with voluntary cover, the bar, or not the bar owner, I guess you could call it a bar, they do serve alcohol at night, pulls out of his till if he doesn't think we took enough door to make sure that we're each walking home with a few bucks.
Right.
Why are cafes showing us more respect than bars?
Exactly.
There's a reason people are leaving the city. Stop complaining the good music's going. Stop complaining you can't find good bands. You're going to keep getting garage bands that don't sound great if you're not treating musicians the way that musicians should be treated. Like any other human being, we're trying to make a living doing our jobs.
Right. And just to kind of complete my point to what I was saying is there are premier venues in Calgary. I don't even know if I should call them premier, but they're the most well-known venues in Calgary that think it's a good night when the group or the band walks away with $10 or $20 each.
You've mentioned a couple of those quote-unquote premier venues. No, that's not right.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. There might be people listening going, okay, so you guys walked away with $75 a person that night. You did okay. No, we actually did walk away with more at Blind Beggar, but
I know people who've played Blind Beggar and walked away with $6 a musician.
Exactly. And that's the point that I'm making is in Calgary, that's one of the things that seems to be happening at certain venues.
Yeah, don't call yourself a premier venue until you're willing to pay musicians and work on building your clientele.
Absolutely.
You're never going to have a viable business without it.
Or anybody who says they can do what we do. Fine, then don't book bands.
That's something, that is something I heard from a bar in Canmore. I can't remember the name right now, and I wish I did. Called out, offered me $300 for 2-3 set nights, so for a Friday and Saturday.
3 hours of work. Actually, it's probably 4 to 5 hours of work with load in, set up.
We haven't gotten to load in and set up yet. No travel pay.
Yeah.
Wanted us driving back to Calgary, so no overnight accommodation. So 3 sets. $300, 4 musicians, 2 nights. Wanted us to arrive at 5 and start playing at 9. 9. Wanted us to arrive at 5 for loading and sound check.
No food, no lodging, I'm
No
guessing?
food, no lodging. We were allowed drinks on that one. And I worked it all out for him, and I said, you're looking to pay us less than minimum wage. Do your waitresses work for that? He said, well, no, they're waitresses. Why do you expect us to do it? Anybody can do what you do. Really? Would you like to pick up a violin and play like my violinist? Well, I can't play violin. Then here's a guitar. You play for your patrons. Good luck with your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. They have to know. And it's not good enough for us to just keep taking those gigs.
No.
That's like $100 for the band a night, so $25 each. Nothing.
Nothing.
Not even, right?
Not even.
Not even when you really consider
it's
it.
like something like $2 an hour is what it worked out to. And, I do talk to certain musicians and they're like, well, then just don't play those gigs. Unfortunately, the gigs that actually pay, you play one of those every 6 months, or you can play a bunch of little ones where you're earning $75 a night. Unfortunately, you're making more money doing the $75 a night shows, and sadly, musicians are doing that. In the 80s in Calgary, it was easy, $2-3 grand a night to play a room of 200 people. Easy. Even 150 people, you were making that much a night. You couldn't get a band for less than that. Unfortunately, the Musicians Union in Calgary doesn't seem to be doing anything about it, doesn't seem to care, is not involved with our kind of musician anymore. And the old head of our musician who made it, our Musicians Union in Calgary, who made it so great here, moved out to BC. Oh my God, playing in BC, it's like, oh, heaven.
Compared to
They give you 4 brochures, one on how to improve your craft, one on
booking
your rights as a musician, one on how to book more gigs, and I can't remember the other one, but I was, in a 30-person group out playing some bar in Kelowna, being treated, we had our own space to like chill out in with couches and as much bottled water as we wanted and food, and holy crap.
And who needs a brochure on booking when it's practically done for you?
In BC?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It was like heaven. It was just, oh my God, they treated us so well. And then you come back to Calgary and you're like, we don't even have a backstage room. We don't even have a stage. They want us putting our cases on stage because there's nowhere to put them.
And I've had dialogues with the Calgary Association, and I'm not here to put them down. Obviously, they're more or less interested in the orchestra, and they haven't really expanded outside of that yet. Maybe because of not enough staff.
But they were expanded outside of it. They were making sure every musician in Calgary, up until the mid-90s, was treated well.
Well, something obviously changed in the mid-90s, and they're not doing that anymore. And basically, I kind of went down, and I was like, I'm paying my dues every year, and there's probably some benefit from what I've done. I've maybe made a couple of contacts. I've been able to send out my, newsletter to a couple of hundred more people. But ultimately, like, what is the benefit for me being here? Can I call up and can I get work, or what's the deal? And basically he said, what you want to do is make sure you book a couple of shows that pay, and that way you're not worried about the dues that you have to pay every year. I was like, no. I hear what you're saying, but what I'm asking is, what are the benefits to me for being in the association? And could not come up with anything substantial.
Here's what the benefits used to be. The union never booked you before.
Right.
But the union had a list of approved booking agents. Call one of these guys up, have them as your booking agent. And they had union rooms in the city. If you played that room, you got a meal. You got a not alcohol soda. You had a backstage room. You had an agreement, a contract on what your rights were, what their rights were, and you were paid $2,000 to $3,000 a night. You could afford to rent a bit of gear. You could afford to rent a truck.
Have some
You
margin.
could afford to pay your lighting and sound guy. You could afford to pay your booking agent, and everybody actually walked home with a decent paycheck at the end of the night.
Right.
And, you showed up with 6-8 people who were all there working, but you could actually afford to pay everybody. Oh my goodness, like what a concept. And you were treated well. And if there was a problem, if a bar decided not to pay you, one example I heard was a band was told, no, we're not going to pay you because you scratched our floor. The band went, well, we have special casters on our gear to make sure we don't scratch floors. It's not us. Could it have been somebody in cowboy boots or something stupid on the dance floor tonight? Nope, you caused it. We're not paying you. Okay, cool. They called up the musician 2 hours before the show the night before. The band starts packing up and leaving. And the bar's like, where are you going? Well, the union says we can't play here anymore because you're not paying bands. And we don't want to play a venue that's not paying bands. Yeah. That's what the union used to do. You know how long that lasted? 2 days. The bar said, hold on, we'll work it out with the union. So the band didn't play that night, but they played the next night.
And they got paid. Yeah.
And the band that was accused of scratching the floor, they got paid. That's what the union was there for.
Right.
Nowadays, you don't bring enough people in and a bar will try to not pay you. I'm not sure we're going to get paid by the last bar we played.
Now, they did give me a list of booking agents, of all the contacts, in fact, of the association. I called every one of those numbers. I think I got in touch with 2 of them. One of them said he was retired.
Oh, so good.
Clearly this list hadn't actually been updated since who knows when.
Good grief.
And then the other one I don't think ever got back to me. So are there legitimate booking agents out there anymore? Is probably another question for another time.
We might have found one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But we've probably yacked enough for this show.
Yes, we have. And you haven't given any of your updates.
I guess maybe we'll have to do that next time.
You should ask you first.
I got to talk about upcoming CDs and Toyota and stuff. So that's what some of the stuff that had happened. But yeah, we'll get into some more of what I did. Should I tell everybody who they're going to hear next in the interview? The next interview?
Yeah, you should.
I think a lot of people have been waiting on bated breath to know even who it is.
Yes.
So
tell us.
I'm not going to tell you everybody that I've interviewed. That's in the can already. But this upcoming interview is with Steve Taylor.
Woo!
And Steve Taylor I actually interviewed him in person. And if you don't know who that is, he is considered one of the most important people in the Christian music business.
Yes.
First of all, for recording several of his own CDs, solo CDs, which were lampooning a lot of televangelists, Christianity, were very controversial, in fact. Very controversial CDs. And then for producing, everybody should know this name, Newsboys.
Who hasn't heard of Newsboys?
I believe it was 5 or 6 of their albums that he personally produced.
Amazing.
So the man himself, Steve Taylor, will be up on the show next.
I'm excited. If you're not excited at home, you can't possibly have a heartbeat.
Oh, and by the way, I'll just leave you with this curveball. He's making films now.
Woo!
Which will be our next subject, I'm sure, for the next show. Okay, so we'll see you again soon.
This podcast is a part of the Blueberry Network. You can find this and other great podcasts at blueberry.com. That's blueberry with no e's.com.
You've been listening to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, broadcasting from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
This has been a Red Flame production. To learn more about Red Flame, go to redflamerecords.com.